Uh, so I hope, as usual, you have downloaded today's stuff and started looking into it. So please just give me 5 minutes time, and then we will decide how to proceed. So let me ask you a very good afternoon to all of you. Have you started doing your revision of JSP syntax and the first half of JSP? Okay, so I'll ask you for your suggestions or your option. One option is you continue for a while in doing the revision on your own. Option one, I can take the revision if you want any part of it, wherever you are, like you can, or best way is you can do it on your own. And doing that revision part, before you start completing the completion of the pending work, I'm going to discuss the today's assignment. So do you want to tell me? Do you want to revise? Do you need some more time in finishing your revision? Or are we ready to? Okay, so it is fine. So around 4:30, you think around 4:30 you will be able to complete a basic part of the revision? Okay, so around 4:30, I will disturb you. I'll discuss the assignment, and then again you can continue with the remaining lab session. In between, anyone has any question? I'm just waiting here for your inputs. So in completion of pending work or servlet related, JSP related, any question you have, please don't hesitate to ask. Continue with your revision. Servlet config and servlet context. Mohammed, I will say this way. I'll tell you exactly. I've given you two readmes. One is regarding servlet config and one is regarding servlet context. So have you gone through those readmes, Mohammed? Okay, so if you can ask me clearly, you can unmute yourself and ask me the question, then I'll be in a position to explain where exactly you're confused. Are you asking? Anyway, decide your question, because see, servlet config is very different than servlet context. Actually, there is nothing to be compared. Only thing is they sound similar. So let me ask you, since you are not asking me a question, if you want to access either servlet specific or today JSP specific initialization parameters, what will you use? Config or context? You'll use servlet config, right? Now, when you say this, who is going to create this servlet config object? Programmer or web container? Web container, very right. When this object gets created, okay, let me say this. Does this object get created every time or only when init parameters are passed? All the time. Absolutely correct. So when it will be created? After the constructor. So other day we were in servlet. So I was saying after the servlet's default constructor. Today you saw JSP, but JSP is what? Nothing but a translated servlet page. So after that, JSP's default constructor, translated page class constructor is over, and before the init method. So that is where your container will create the empty servlet config object. and then it will refer into your deployment instructions. And if you have supplied init parameters, it will add them like we used to do all the time in your core Java map.put. So it will populate. It means container will populate all those init parameters in servlet config, and that servlet config will be available in servlet using get servlet config method. And in JSP also, you can access it using get servlet config, or from that scriptlet, you can also use that implicit object, namely config. So that is all about your servlet configuration. Whereas servlet context is totally different ballgame. Servlet context, how many servlet context objects your container will create? Tell me. It is all done by the container, you know that. Yeah, but one per what, Mohammed? You should tell me. You should never answer only one. One per something, you should say. Yes, please. One per. Wrong, wrong. That is where I think you have a confusion. Servlet context. Servlet context, exactly. It's a web application. It's a, suppose you have day 5, day 6, day 6, 3 web applications deployed. There would be 3 web context, 3 servlet context. So web container will create servlet context object the moment you say right click, run as, and run on server, as in when you deploy. But unfortunately, okay, so servlet context object is created. Now answer the next question. Can you access, or okay, let me say what will happen, because that is the way I had shown you on Saturday. Will you be able to access servlet context object from the default constructor of a servlet? It's a Boolean question, yes or no. Answer is no. So how did we, you remember I have given that demo also. So if you say from the default constructor, get servlet context, what will you get? Null value, blank value, or null pointer? Null pointer. Absolutely correct. And why this happens? So this is where maybe Mohammed, you are, I don't know about you, but this could be the confusion point. So can a servlet access servlet context directly, or is it going to access it through servlet config? I'll repeat the question. Can servlet access the servlet context directly or internally through the servlet config? Answer is internally through the servlet config. What I mean by that, I'll be clear. When you say get servlet context, what it calls internally? What does it call internally? First, it says get servlet config dot get servlet context. And you know that in the default constructor, config object is null. So you are calling on null dot get servlet context. Of course, you'll get a null pointer. But if anyone asks you, when is this context object? So let me say it in an interview kind of a terms. If anyone asks you, when is the servlet context object created? What is the answer? Right at the application deployment time. But will you be able to access it before the init method in the servlet? Absolutely not. Because the way you can access the context object is through the config. Does that make it? Oh, okay, one more statement. What is the use case of context? If you want to add, suppose global parameters, guys, when I say parameter, it is string comma string, string name, string value, read only. So you have seen context parameters. Or if you want to add context scope attributes, that loan scheme and all I had given information, advertisements. If you want to keep the advertisements common between the client, what is the point in making multiple copies of that advertisement, discount scheme, or promotions, or sale and offers and all? So you want to make one copy. So if you want to create one single copy of an attribute to be shared across multiple clients belonging to the same web application, what will you use? Tell me, servlet config or servlet context? Of course, you'll use servlet context. And till before we were in JSP, how we used to do that? Simply say get servlet context dot set attribute name comma value. When you learn tomorrow, guys, JSTL, I'll show you there is a tag C:set. It becomes so easy. But today you don't know about it, so discard it. So today, how will you set? We are going to do it, by the way. How will you set the context scope attribute? You will have to open a scriptlet. Now I'm talking in JSP, and in a scriptlet, anyone wants to tell me, suppose I want to add the context scope attribute. How will you do it in JSP? From inside the scriptlet, type it. I'm looking at it. Understood the question? Context scope, no, wrong answer, Prashant. Anyone wants to try again? He's saying context scope dot set attribute, not accepted. Next, try. Dot set attribute is correct. Invoker object is wrong, Prashant. So work it out. Not just him, anybody, whoever is listening to our conversation. Yes, please. What will be the invoker? Okay, let me ask you once again. How you would have written it in the servlet? Application scope is wrong, Mohammed. Yes, all wrong. I mean, I'm giving you application scope is the name of the map. Are you getting me? So you are not referring to the map. Okay, let me straighten this thing. Help you. Listen to this. Hold on. Stop answering. What is it you would like to call? If that was a servlet, you would have said get servlet context dot set attribute. But in the JSP implicit object, is there any implicit object which represents the servlet context? Answer is yes. Which one? Give me the name of the JSP implicit object whose data type is servlet context, which represents. Wrong. Page context is the current page environment. Page context is totally horribly wrong answer. Page context, one object per page. I'm talking about one web application. Nobody? I'm not answering that. You tell me. Wrong. Come on, Srinivas. I said entire web application. Go through the list of JSP. Wrong, Krutika. I'm saying JSP implicit objects. I'm not talking about EL. I'm talking about a scriptlet here. Yes. Give me the name of application, finally. Guys, application is the name of the JSP implicit object, which is nothing but your servlet context in your servlet. So if you say get servlet context, will it not work? Of course it will work, but why struggle? When you have an exact implicit object, so what will you say? Application dot set attribute, name, comma, value. I'm just giving you time to revise, and we are going to write one-liner, or not one-liner, okay, 4 or 5 liner code, which will make you clear about all 4 scopes. Okay, so got some clarity, Mohammed, regarding config versus context? Or okay, yeah, continue, please. How can we init parameters in JSP? That is currently out of context because that again involves web.xml. So we are not doing it right now. It's rarely required. If at all you want to do it, you again configure the JSP in web.xml and pass the init parameters exactly like we did in the servlet. But right now, like, you know, it's a little bit out of bounds. So we'll not discuss it immediately. Continue, please.
Hello.
Yes, Srinivas.
मैम JSP कंटेनर एंड वेब कंटेनर में डिफरेंस है?
कुछ फर्क नहीं है, मैंने बोला ना so many times. Servlet container is equal to web container is equal to JSP container is equal to whatever web engine, servlet engine, all mean the server side JVM, nothing else.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, zero difference है, कुछ नहीं है difference.
Okay.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, tell me.
Ma'am, ते adminच्या ह्याच्यामध्ये मला डाऊट होत आहे.
Okay, you want to share screen?
Yes, ma'am. मॅम हे 4 नंतर डायरेक्टली 7 येत आहे.
हा, ते कशासाठी झालंय? कारण मधले तू ना काही डिलीट केले असशील, काही ट्युटोरियल्स तू डिलीट केले असशील, पण जोपर्यंत तू टेबल ड्रॉप करत नाहीस ना कुणाल, तोपर्यंत तू ऑटो इन्क्रीमेंट केलंयस ना, आपण मी ते ऑटो इन्क्रीमेंट केलंय, तर तो ऑटो इन्क्रीमेंट काउंटर रिसेट होत नाही. आता जर तू उद्या केलंस, जर तू ड्रॉप टेबल केलंस, ड्रॉप टेबल ट्युटोरियल्स केलं आणि मग परत केलंस, तर मग तो परत 1 2 3 4 होईल. कळलं? सो इट डझंट मॅटर, कारण ट्युटोरियल आयडी हा काही युजर नाही सेट करते, ते आपले सिस्टम जनरेटेड आहे. समजलं मी काय बोलले?
याला काही रेमेडी नाहीये का? म्हणजे नंतर जर
नाही, यू डोंट. द मोमेंट यू से ऑटो इन्क्रीमेंट, कोण मॅनेज करणार आहे तो? डेटाबेस. इट इज कंट्रोल्ड ऑल बाय डेटाबेस. तेव्हा तू कसा कंट्रोल करणार त्याला?
ओके, मला वाटलं हेच म्हणजे
नाही
माझ्याकडून
देयर इज नथिंग, देयर इज नो बग. फक्त तू मधले जर डिलीट केले असतेस ना काही काही रेकॉर्ड, यू मस्ट हॅव डिलीटेड सम ट्युटोरियल्स, तर तो
नाही, मी काय
कंटिन्यू झाला.
डिलीट नाही केलं मी. पण मला एरर आलेले त्याच्यामुळे तर नसेल ना.
हा, तर तेच म्हणजे कशामुळे तरी की काहीतरी करताना तुझं इन्सर्ट झाला नाही रेकॉर्ड फर्स्ट टाइम, पहिल्यांदा चुकलं असेल तेव्हा, त्यामुळे असं झालंय. पण इट डज नॉट मॅटर एट ऑल. हे बघ कुणाल, वी आर गोइंग टू स्टार्ट विथ हायबरनेट इन अनदर 2 days time, not 3 also. So in Hibernate also we are going to rely on this automatic ID generation. The ID ची value is the last concern. Let ID get generated. आता तो database generate करतोय, later it will be Hibernate. We are just going to give that ID to the user and user will never set it. So it doesn't matter whether it is 100 or 1000. How does it matter? कळलं?
येस मॅम. ओके, थँक्यू मॅम.
Sure. अदरवाईज झालं टेस्ट कोणाल? म्हणजे बाकीचं ते व्हॅलिडेशन रूल वगैरे सगळं केलंस?
येस मॅम.
ओके, गुड, व्हेरी गुड. आणि ते सिलेक्ट ऑप्शन लिस्टने केलं ना, डायनामिक केलं ना टॉपिक सिलेक्शन?
हा मॅम, सर्वलेट मध्येच लिहिलंय.
सर्वलेट मध्ये टॉपिक सिलेक्शन केलं, ठीक आहे, व्हेरी गुड.
हॅलो.
येस अक्षय.
हा मॅम, एक डाऊट होता डे 5.1 मधला.
हा.
तर मॅम
मी ओपन
एक
करू का, तुला शेअर करायचं स्क्रीन? कसं करूया?
नाही केलं तरी चालेल share screen मध्ये.
बर बर,
फक्त
हा
मला
बोल
असं
ना.
सांगा बरं,
हा.
आपण जेसन आयडी आपल्याला पर क्लायंट नुसार म्हणजे एका क्लायंटला सेम येतो ना?
जे सेशन आयडी, एक सेकंद, आय जस्ट एक सेकंद, गिव्ह मी अ मिनिट. मी शेअर करते फुल स्क्रीन. हा. काय उघडू? डे 5.1 उघडू?
हा, 5.1.
ओके. हा. जे सेशन आयडी विल बी
टॉपिक
वन युनिकली क्रिएटेड फॉर अ क्लायंट. बरोबर आहे. तर आता काय उघडू सांग मला? ऑथेंटिकेशन
डे
सर्व्हर.
5.1. हा,
डे 5.1 उघडलं ना?
टॉपिक
5.1 म्हणा.
टॉपिक मध्ये.
टॉपिक
हा,
मध्ये.
टॉपिक
ओके ओके.
टॉपिक
हा.
सर्वलेट.
हा बोल.
हा मॅम, आता आपण जेसन आपण तो एक
जेसन म्हणू
ऑब्जेक्ट तर
नकोस.
आपल्याला पर
हॅलो
क्लायंटला.
हॅलो हॅलो. जेसनचा काही संबंध नाही. जावास्क्रिप्ट ऑब्जेक्ट नाही. जे सेशन आयडी, जावा
हा
सेशन
सॉरी
आयडी
जे
विच इज अ कुकी.
हा सर.
त्यामुळे डोंट गेट कन्फ्युज इन
ओके
जेसन आणि जे सेशन आयडी. हा बोल पुढे.
ओके ओके मॅम. आपण प्रत्येक क्लायंटला आपण वेगळा आपला हे क्रिएट होतो, एक ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएट होतो
क्लायंट
आपण.
साठी वेगळा HTTP सेशन ऑब्जेक्ट सर्व्हर हीप मध्ये तयार होतो.
हा, तर मग आता आपण लॉग इन मध्ये केला. लॉग इन मध्ये आपण एक ऑब्जेक्ट तिथे तयार झाला आणि
एक मिनिट, तू
टॉपिक
जरा थोडेसे ना, एक सेकंड तुझ्या टर्मिनॉलॉजी चुकतीये, त्यामुळे मला जस्ट करेक्ट यू. एक सेकंड. डी 5.1 च कुठे गेलं? एकच
लॉग इन.
मिनिट. कारण असं म्हणू नकोस की सेशन आपण क्रिएट काहीच करत नाही. सी, लिसन टू दिस. वी आर गेटिंग इथे एल्स ब्रांच मध्ये, this is the first time you are requesting the you means servlet is requesting the web container to get the session object. ते ही आपण पहिल्यांदा रिक्वेस्ट केलेली आहे सेशन साठी. त्यामुळे इथे वेब कंटेनर विल एंड अप क्रिएटिंग अन एम्प्टी सेशन ऑब्जेक्ट विच डज नॉट हॅव एनी अट्रिब्यूट्स. तर इथे तुला ब्रँड न्यू सेशन ऑब्जेक्ट तयार झाला आणि तो कंटेनर तुला रिटर्न केला. आता
ओके. हा
सेम सेशन ऑब्जेक्ट तुला, as long as you are talking to the same client, तो जे सेशन आयडी, ओके, सेशनचा आयडेंटिफायर काय आहे? जावा सेशन आयडी, ती लॉंग स्ट्रिंग. ती तू कशी पाठवतोस? वेब कंटेनर इज सेंडिंग इट टू क्लायंट ब्राउझर इन फॉर्म ऑफ अ कुकी. सो जेव्हा क्लायंट ब्राउझर नेक्स्ट रिक्वेस्ट तुला पाठवतो, अँड व्हेन यू से रिक्वेस्ट डॉट गेट सेशन, वेब कंटेनर चेक्स इट इन द कुकीज, इट कॉल्स रिक्वेस्ट डॉट गेट कुकीज, आणि तिथून त्याला तो जे सेशन आयडी ची व्हॅल्यू मिळते. आणि तिथून त्याला कळतं की ओके, दिस जे सेशन आयडी म्हणजे दिस मस्ट बी मॅपिंग टू लेट्स से क्लायंट 1 और क्लायंट 2 और क्लायंट 3 असं.
ओके
तुझा
ओके.
क्वेश्चन विचारता म्हणजे
हा
हे
मला
basic
काय
आहे.
हा मला काय विचारायचं होतं मॅम. आता आपण इथं एक म्हणजे हा HTTP सेशन याच्याच रिक्वेस्ट हा एक ऑब्जेक्ट म्हणजे इथं एक हीप मध्ये तो
इथे आपण
तयार झाला.
सेकंड टाइम असं म्हणू नको सेशन ऑब्जेक्ट तयार केला. आपण कुठेही सेशन ऑब्जेक्ट तयार करत नाही. दॅट इज व्हॉट इज युअर थिंकिंग. इथे वेब कंटेनरला आपण परत रिक्वेस्ट केली की गेट मी द सेशन ऑब्जेक्ट. तर इथे तो नवीन क्रिएट केले, आय मीन ओके, इन दिस स्टेटमेंट विल इट क्रिएट अ न्यू सेशन ऑब्जेक्ट का जो आधीच्या रिक्वेस्ट वर तयार झाला तोच तुला पाठवेल?
अगोदरच्या ह्याच्यावरती
आधीच्या त्यालाच आपण एक्झिस्टिंग ऑब्जेक्ट म्हणतो की नाही. आणि
एक्झिस्टिंग. हा,
रिक्वेस्ट डॉट इज न्यू फॉल्स आला. पुढे बोल.
फॉल्स आलं. हा
पुढे बोल.
हा, मग इथं जर नवीन झालेला असेल मध्ये तो ऑब्जेक्ट आणि मग खाली
कसा असेल
जे
नवीन झालेला?
सेशन.
हॅलो, जर तुझ्या क्लायंटनी एनेबल कुकीज केल्या असतील तर दरवेळेला तो कुकी मधनं तुला जे सेशन आयडी मिळतोय. मग तुला जर एक तो जे सेशन आयडी जर सर्व्हर साइड मध्ये मॅच झाला तर व्हाय वुड युअर वेब कंटेनर क्रिएट अ सेशन ऑब्जेक्ट न्यू? करणारच नाही तो. जोपर्यंत तो सेम क्लायंटला, तू असं म्हणूच कसं शकतोस की नवीन सेशन? तिथेच तुझा कन्फ्युजन आहे.
हा, तेच
जोपर्यंत
सेम
कुकीज एनेबल्ड असतील आणि जोपर्यंत तू सेम क्लायंटशी इंटरॅक्ट करतोयस, सो फॉर सेम क्लायंट सेम HTTP सेशन ऑब्जेक्ट आणि सेम जे सेशन आयडी कुकी विल बी गिव्हन. समजतंय का?
ओके ओके. हा, यातच कन्फ्युजन होतं मॅम की जे सेशन आयडी इथं सेम तुम्ही म्हणलं नाही की एकाच क्लायंटला. तिथंच कन्फ्युजन होतं ते.
हे बघ, आजचा जर तू डेटा बघितला, आजचा नाही सॉरी सॅटर्डेचा डेटा उघड. मी ती करणारच आहे, मला कोणी रिमाइंड नाही केलं, बट आय रिमाइंड आय मीन आय रिमेंबर्ड. हे बघ, Java day 6 data उघड, any other who is listening on the conversation, and there is a very good diagram I've given you. Day 6 help उघड, day 6 data, day 6 help, and in the diagrams I have given you a complete HTTP session internal. आणि त्याच्यात मी कोडही लिहिलाय, what code, आणि आय हॅव टेकन द कंडिशन ऑफ 2 users, वन इज रमा, वन इज मीरा, काहीतरी व्हॉट एव्हर, आणि त्याच्यात HTTP सेशन ऑब्जेक्ट्स कसे क्रिएट होतात आणि त्याची जे सेशन आयडी कशी मेंटेन होते सर्व्हर साइड हिपला, ते ड्रॉ करून दाखवलंय. सो वेन एव्हरीवन्स रिव्हिजन इज काइंड ऑफ ओव्हर, आय एम गोइंग टू टेक दिस, आय एम गोइंग टू डिस्कस दिस डायग्राम. तर तोपर्यंत तू ती बघू शकतोस ही डायग्राम.
ठीक आहे मॅम. ओके, थँक्यू.
कंटिन्यू. Yeah, Rohit, I told you earlier to remind. I'm already going to do that. I already offered it myself. So you don't have to tell me again. So finish your revision fast, guys, and then I can start the discussion like.
हॅलो मॅम.
Yes, Ashutosh, tell me.
मॅम, जे JSP डिक्लेरेशन आहे ना,
हा,
ते तुम्ही सांगितलं की बॉडी टॅगच्या बाहेर आपण टाकतो.
हा, जनरली ऍज अ नॉर्म तू लिहिलं जरी बॉडी टॅग मध्ये तरी चालतं, पण ऍज अ नॉर्म यू कीप इट आउटसाइड, कारण JSP सर्व्हिसच्या ते बाहेर जातं ना, म्हणून.
ओके. आणि मॅम स्क्रिप्टलेट आणि JSP डिक्लेरेशन म्हणजे मेजर हे डिफरन्स काय आहे?
अरे आपण केलं ना आता स्क्रिप्टलेट मध्ये जे तू जावा कोड लिहितोस ते डायरेक्टली JSP सर्व्हिस मध्ये जातं. सो इट इज कॉल्ड वन्स फॉर एव्हरी रिक्वेस्ट. आणि डिक्लेरेशन ब्लॉक मध्ये तू टिपिकली काय तुझ्या लाईफ सायकल मेथड्स इनिट JSP डिस्ट्रॉय अशा मेथड्स किंवा एक डेटा मेंबर्स असतील. इट इज लाईक अ डिक्लेरेशन ब्लॉक ऑफ युअर क्लास. तर स्क्रिप्टलेट मध्ये स्क्रिप्टलेट्स आर इक्विव्हॅलंट टू द डू स्टार मेथड आणि एक्स्ट्रा मेथड ज्या असतील किंवा इनिट डिस्ट्रॉय मेथड ज्या होत्या त्या आपण टाकतो JSP डिक्लेरेशन ब्लॉक मध्ये. असा फरक आहे.
अच्छा, म्हणजे स्क्रिप्टलेट्स मध्ये आपण व्हेरिएबल डिक्लेअर करू शकतो, मेथड नाही.
हा अर्थातच मेथड विदिन अ मेथड करू शकतो का तू जावा मध्ये? नाही ना,
नाही. हा,
म्हणून.
ठीक आहे, थँक्यू.
हॅलो,
येस पंकज, बोल.
स्क्रीन शेअर करू.
हा दाखव.
मॅम हा एरर येतोय.
405 म्हणजे टिपिकली गेट वर्सेस पोस्ट. मला तू करून दाखव म्हणजे मग मला कळेल कुठे येते, कशा कुठल्या पार्टला येतोय. जिथे गेट पाहिजे तिथे पोस्ट केलंयस किंवा व्हाईस वर्सा केलंयस? काय केल्यावर येतोय मला दाखव ना, कुठल्या ट्रान्झिशनला येतोय?
परत रन करून बघू.
हा करून दाखव रन, चालेल. जिथे एरर येईल तिथे थांब. आता एक्सेप्शन आला तुला कुठेतरी. ह्याला जा, सर्व्हर कन्सोलला जा. काहीतरी हे केलंयस तू ना, पुढे येतो एक्सेप्शन आलं. तिथे बिफोर स्टार्ट तू rst.next म्हणायचं विसरलायस. डबल क्लिक कर कन्सोलवर पंकज, कन्सोलवर डबल क्लिक कर, तो दिसेल तुला. मॅक्सिमाइज कर. हा तिथे आलंय बघ, बिफोर स्टार्ट ऑफ रिझल्ट सेट. म्हणजे तू rst.next म्हणायचं विसरलायस. युजर डाव IMPL चे लाईन नंबर 29 उघड. तिथे लिहिलंय बघ युजर डाव तिथे खालती आहे ना, तिथे क्लिक कर ना, तिथे लाईनवर. हा खालती, अजून खाली आहे. युजर डाव IMPL.java लाईन नंबर 29. हा तिथे क्लिक कर, तिथे तुला घेऊन जाईल त्या लाईनवर. हा ते डबल क्लिक करते, खाली आण. इथे आता विसरलायस. इफ RST इज नॉट इक्वल टू नल करतच नाही आपण. हे कुठलं कोड लिहिलं? इफ RST.next आपण रिझल्ट सेट कधी नलला चेक करतो का? इफ RST.next पाहिजे लाईन नंबर 28 ला. रिझल्ट सेट कधी आपण चेक करत नाही. रिझल्ट सेट कर्सर इज ऑलवेज
नाही.
बिफोर द फर्स्ट रो. सो इफ RST.next काढून टाक इक्वल टू नल. दिस वॉज वन ऑफ द प्रॉब्लेम. हा तुझा वेगळा प्रॉब्लेम आहे. हा ठीक आहे. आता परत सेव्ह कर आणि रन करून बघ. सेव्ह केलं की ते ऑटोमॅटिकली रिलोड होईल. गो टू द क्लायंट साइड. हा ठीक आहे, रन कर परत. डबल क्लिक कर कन्सोलला. मला ती बघू देत की ते डाव तयार झाले का. शुड नेव्हर गो टू दॅट विदाउट. नाही, आधी सर्व्हर साइडला जा प्लीज. कन्सोल. युजर डाव तयार झालाय, ठीक आहे. आता मला क्लायंट वरनं टेस्ट करून दाखव.
वाल.
हे येत नव्हतं ना आधी.
हो.
आता कुकीज नाही आहेत तुझ्या. कुकीज एनेबल केल्याशिवाय चालणार नाहीये हे. सो एनेबल द कुकीज. यू कॅन स्टॉप शेअरिंग. कुकीज एनेबल कर आणि रन करून बघ, चालेल. ठीक आहे.
हो हो हो,
ओके,
थँक्यू मॅम.
शुअर. Okay, I'm asking you, do you want anything to revise with me, or are you kind of done with the revision where I can discuss the JSP-based assignment? Tell me what you want. Accordingly, I'll do. Or do you want us to discuss that HTTP session internal diagram first? Give me any option. I can start accordingly. Majority, whatever majority says, we will do. The diagram first? Okay, fine. So let me just share the entire screen. So open this thing. What is it? Now please pause your work because what I'm discussing will help you a lot even when I take you to Spring MVC. Okay. So in day 6 data, day 6 help, open diagrams and open HTTP session internal. Is everyone ready? Can I start? And as a exercise, self-study, I have done it for something like authentication and a category. You can do it for our authentication as in login, and next was topics, or login and next is your customer, admin page. It is one and the same. So now let me explain the code first, which is more than easy. It is the internal which are more enjoyable, more interesting. So imagine that user has submitted the login form. Okay, so right now don't look into the picture, look into the code. After the form is submitted in the login servlet, in the else branch, I mean in the successful login branch, I was talking to one of you and he was using all wrong terms. When you say request.get session, are you as a servlet, are you creating a session object, or is it created by the container programmer or a container? It's a web container. So guys, now you have so much of idea of servlet API. So anyone wants to tell me, when I call request.get session, what means, okay, first let us say this. What must be the internal code? See, web container is not a magician. How will web container know whether it is a new client, new HTTP session object to be created, or is it the existing one? You understood my question? How does container figure it out? New client or existing client is the question being asked. Wrong answer. Totally wrong. Guys, if you say is new, I'll tell you why you are wrong. Your session object may not be created, and is new method is the session object method. So you are all wrong. Yes. So I can't accept the answer unless until you give me a precise answer. You tell me. No. I don't want in English, Abhijit. I want in Java code. That this is the code your container will call when you say request.get session. Anyone? Of course, searches in existing map, JSession ID, all overall is correct. But I'm not happy unless until I get a precise answer. Exactly, Mohammed is right. So I would have been happier, Mohammed, if you said request.get cookies, but at least something. So container will call request.get cookies. Guys, I have shown you first all cookie-based session tracking, just to give you that. So now listen to the question. If it is a brand new client, I mean brand new means if it is the first request coming from the client, will there be any cookies in the request header or no cookies? Keep responding. I said if it is the first request, what will be the value of request.get cookies? Null. Null means what? There are no cookies. So is your container having some JSession ID extracted from the cookie? Absolutely not. In the absence of cookie, what will container do? Here is the answer. Container will create, look at this. Okay, so I'll just tell you, it's a quite detailed and interesting discussion. So container will create that HTTP session object. I'm not talking about the outermost rectangle, the second level rectangle, which I have labeled as HS1. And along with HTTP session, what will be its unique ID? What is the ID of that this thing called HTTP session called JSession ID? Nothing to do with JSON and all. So please, guys, don't get confused. So along with the HTTP session object, container will generate a unique value of JSession ID. You got me? And This unique value, what will it do with this JSession ID? Will it keep it on the server space alone, or will it send it to the client? Answer is already there in the diagram. Of course, it is going to send. It is going to send to the client in the response status code, header, or response body. Header. What is the name of the header which everyone knows? What is the name of the header we have seen? Which header? Set cookie header. What will be the name of the cookie? Name of the cookie, JSession ID, all uppercase, very right. And what will be the value? That alphanumeric string. Okay. So guys, here, when the client is sending, or rather, when you are calling this request.get session for the client for whom the HTTP session object is not yet created, what all happens? It creates an empty session object. It creates a JSession ID, unique JSession ID, and that JSession ID, it is going to send it to the client browser in form of a cookie. Okay, one at a time. Now, so this is the some part created. But I told you in the morning, every HTTP session has an associated map. So here, what is that map? What is HTTP session going to store? What all it is going to store? Session ID, which is already here. Creation time, last access time, max inactive interval time, which is your session expiration time. Plus, it will start with the empty map. So this map will be used for what? Storing the user details across multiple requests. So when I say map in the middle of night, you know it is K comma V. So anyone wants to tell me what will be the type, you know, K comma V, key and a value type for this inner map. Let's see what you're saying. Is the question clear? String comma object, very right. It is nothing but your session scope attribute map. So I have a question. Before this line gets executed, session.set attribute, will it be empty or will it be populated? E or P? 100% empty. Are you getting this? And the moment you call, you mean servlet programmer. In JSP, you write it in a scriptlet. In servlet, we used to write it in a do-star kind of a method. So when you say session.set attribute, everyone knows key comma V, K comma V. So here, user details is the key I have given as an attribute name. And this is your customer POJO reference, user POJO reference. So now see inside. Which map gets filled? This session scope attribute map gets filled. You know from our core Java, maximum time I have spent on collection framework, you know that. So map is map of references. It holds references or actual objects, R or O. Any collection, any data structure, what it holds? References. So that is the reason I've shown. See, this also I could have shown, but it becomes too complex to draw. So this is a string. And importantly, this customer, is there a space to store a customer object? Absolutely not. This is your customer POJO reference. So it just stores the reference, and here the object is stored elsewhere. So this is your customer POJO, which is filled up with the data which is lifted from the database on a successful authentication. So for example, Rama is my user. Suppose I'm talking in Rama. So Rama's details will be lifted from database, including email, password. I mean, this was a different scenario. So whatever whatever are the details, all her details, all user details lifted from the database through the DAO layer, sent to the servlet. And when you say this, API is so easy, session.set attribute, entry is added in the inner map. So tell me, the internal about the first line and the second line. Is it clear? The memory picture, how you see it in the memory picture. Okay. But now go little ahead. If okay, let me ask you. So standard question, silly question. Are you going to write the web application ever for one single client, or can there be multiple clients? Multiple clients. If it was one single client, it was very easy. But the whole idea is scalability. So now, if I talk about two clients, I'm just talking in two clients because that is all I have drawn. So two clients will represent their details will be stored in session tracking in the same HTTP session object or different one? Easy question. Of course, has to be different. So I hope everyone will understand when I say HTTP session 1 object for, let's say, Rama, for the first client, HTTP session object 2 for the second user, whoever is logged in. Everyone understands? Everyone can visualize. I've shown you on the first day of session tracking a simpler picture. HS1, HS2, HS3, HS10 for 10 connected clients. So if 10 clients are connected and they're participating in session tracking, how many HTTP session objects you expect on the heap? 1 or 10? 100% clear so far? Okay. Now think a little bit like a container. So now you will see that outer box, outer this. So now see this. Think like a container and you will realize the problem. Container wants to store all these HTTP session objects and refer to individual one whenever client sends a request. In simple English, suppose I have got C5. C5 means 5th client. What should it lift the details from? HS1, HS2 or HS5 or HS10? Just give me an answer. From HS5. If it is the client 1 who is, talking to me, for example, in category was my bookshop category. Forget that. You can think of a topics page. So in the topics page, when I say session.getAttribute, of course, container has to lift it from the specific session. So now the problem is, when there are so many session objects floating around in the web container heap, how to search for it using the constant time performance? I'll repeat my question. Web container doesn't want to scan the entire heap. It just wants to find if it is C5, client 5, I as a container wants to quickly figure out HTTP session 5. So which is the data structure which gives you constant time performance? A hash map. I told you, this is just one of the things. If you ask me where you have seen it from, over experience. And when I take you to Spring MVC, you can start seeing all these things using debug options. Anyway, so coming back to the point, now I'm talking about the outer structure, outermost box. So simple statements, simple things. Who is going to create what, when, and for which reason? Answer of who is web container. What is it going to create? It is going to create this outer map. When? At the web application deployment time. And for what? For storing your HTTP session objects. I'll repeat the last line again. Already written. This is that outer map. It is a map within a map structure. Collection within a collection, nested collection. So the container will create an empty map. There are so many maps container creates. One was that URL pattern and the servlet name. I'm not talking about that map. This is the holder, session holder map. Okay, so this is the map which is created by the container at the application deployment time to hold your HTTP session objects. So let us start. When the web application is deployed, this outer map will be empty or non-empty. Easy busy, easy question. This outer map will be what? Empty or populated? Of course, empty. So now, can anyone tell me? Okay, before I ask you a question, map is full of entries, key and value pairs. So when will this outer map start getting populated? Can you tell me the line that this is the Java statement, which is what you have to do to add the entry in the outer map? Outer map, I'm saying. Give me the Java API, J2E API, which will add the entry in the outer map. Wrong. Request.getSession is the right answer. When you say request.getSession, Girish, you are expected to give the correct answer. So this HTTP session object gets created. Its reference is added. It is added in that outer map. And so this is that value type. And what is the key associated with it? which is that unique ID associated with it, JSession ID. Okay, so this entry gets created when you write request.getSession. So can anyone tell me what will be the generic type? Generic means K comma V of the outer map. This map, this outer box. What will be the generic? What will be the key type and what will be the value type? Yes, please, I'm waiting. Outer map you are telling me, not inner map. Inner map is string comma object, attribute map. Wrong answer, Avinash. Very right, Kunal and Suman. It is string comma HTTP session. Here, JSession ID has the data type string. And what is sitting next to it? HTTP session reference. So the outer map is string comma HS, string comma HTTP session reference, and HTTP session internally maintains the attribute map. So let me ask you, listen to the question. When this line is executed, request.getSession, which map gets populated? Your choice is outer map or this attribute map, which is I'm calling it as an inner map, outer or inner or both or neither. Answer is only outer map. Are you getting this? So this is what happens as the first line. Now, when you say session.setAttribute, which map gets populated, outer or inner? Outer is the session holder map, inner is the attribute holder map. Inner map gets populated. Got it so far? Now the third line. When I say response.sendRedirect, it's a client pull. So immediately a temporary redirect response. You can see this, guys. Everything I've tried to write, you know the facts, I'm just putting it together. And since we have not drawn this diagram from scratch, you're finding it a little difficult to get it. Okay, so this was RQ1, a form submission. So if you tap means inspect the response RQ, I mean, sorry, this is RQ2, response 1. What will be the response? SC302, status code, redirect. Location, here I'm playing in bookshop, so category. Set cookie, JSession ID, whatever the session ID, alphanumeric, and the body content are empty. So this finishes RQ1, RS1. Are we good so far? And how many HTTP session objects are created in the container heap? 1. How many attributes are populated? User details. But if you check our code, if you remember, we have added that user DAO instance and what was that? Topic DAO instance and tutorial DAO instance. So can anyone tell me where would be those user DAO, topic DAO, tutorial DAO? In the outer map or in the attribute map? Inner map or outer map? You understood what I said? Inner map. Anytime I say, anytime you say set attribute, please understand this is that session scope map. And today you are learning JSP EL with me. So in EL syntax, is there a particular name given to this inner map? Answer is yes. Which one? What is the name given to that inner map? Wrong. Param is this one. Yogesh, Param is the map of request parameters. Session scope is a very right answer. So you start relating things and you start finding it so interesting. So interesting is the word. Okay, so that is it. So now the response is rendered. Now it is the client browser who looks at the redirect response location and generates the next request. Okay, so we are talking about RQ2. So what will be the RQ2? Host, port, whatever day, bookshop or whatever day, 5 days, something, / category. Why I'm saying / category? Because here I'm working in category. You change it to topics. So, but here I was telling somebody, don't disable the cookies. Tomorrow I'll show you a scheme, a technique called as URL rewriting. Then you can disable the cookies and web application will still track the client. I mean, session tracking will work. Not till then. So, which will be the cookie? A request header, what will be the header? Request will contain cookie. And of course, the JSession ID with the value ABC12345. So this is the, and method equal to get. So this is the content of this is the anatomy of the second request. Understood? RQ2 sent to the same web application. Okay. Story is the same. So now you are redirected to the category page in our discussion, a topics page. Okay. Now understand. Now I expect full understanding. I want everyone to participate, not just 4 or 5 out of 200. Now, once again, I'm saying, see, our job is so easy. Without thinking of all these things, you simply keep saying request.get session. So anyone wants to tell me. Now I want more answers, not just one. When you say request.get session, what is the internal method container will call? Request.get session. Again, you are saying is new, Prashant. No, wrong. Request.get cookies. Now, this time, request.get cookies, will it return null or will it return not null? I mean, no cookies or no cookies, not null. Okay. So now it will attach an iterator for each and it means container because I have written only one line and it will say, I've shown you all this in our cookie-based discussion. For each cookie C in cookies, if c.getName.equals, tell me which cookie it will search by, any name or a specific name? It will look for a specific name. Which one? Don't just say specific name, guys. You understand the point. You give me the name. Wrong. Totally wrong. There's no cookie by the name user details. Yes. J session ID all uppercase. Here, somebody said user details. This is the name of the attribute. It is not the name of the cookie. Here, see this now. You have a picture in front of you. The name of the cookie, J session ID. So, from the incoming request, based on a cookie, it will extract the value of a J session ID. So, container has got the value ABC123456. Now tell me, will it go in the outer map or will it go in the inner map, or I mean first level, second level or third level, where it will check? Level 2 is wrong. Outermost map, level 1. So suppose I call it as outer, variable name outer, it will say outer.get. In goes the value of the J session ID and what is sitting next to the value? HTTP session reference. So answer this question. When you say request.get session, is it returning you the existing pre-populated? Pre-populated means earlier request, existing session object or a brand new one? New or existing? Of course, existing. And that is the reason. Okay, story is yet not over. In 2 minutes, it will be over. So when you say session.get attribute, user details, for let us say client 1, which HTTP session object will refer to? HS1 or HS2? Of course, when you say session, it is pointing to this HS1. So here, when you say session.get attribute, which map it will refer to? First level, second level is not a map, it is a HS. I mean outer map or inner map? Of course, inner map, attribute map. In goes the key, which is attribute name, and out comes the POJO reference. In our case, I think we had a user. And that is how you are remembering the client details across multiple requests. So tell me, I mean, don't tell me, you do the self-study part. You take this, and that is why I've written it for the second client also, where you can see another HTTP session object, another J session ID. Attribute names are going to be the same because your code is the same, but the references, first one will point to customer POJO reference having Rama's details. Second one will refer to customer POJO reference, another customer POJO referring to another client details. So tell me, this much of a code and the diagram. Clear? I mean, little bit at least clear. Unless until you think in map within a map and have this discussion, impossible to get the feel. So once again, I'm saying, today is a day of JSP. So when you say $ session scope dot user underscore detail, we are referring to this inner map of session scope attributes, which web container gives it a name by the name session scope. Likewise, there will be a separate map, request scope, page scope, application scope, param, cookies, etc. Okay, so imagine this is just a part of the containers heap I have shown you. Try to explain. Last one, and then we will discuss the assignment. So now, what happens in a checkout or logout page typically? We again say request.getSession. So let us say Mira is logging out, then my second client is logging out. Okay. So for her, we are saying request.getSession. So go faster. Is it going to return HS1, HS2, null or empty session or whatever? What is it going to return? HS2. Everyone understands me? The session object meant for Mira. Now when I say session.invalidate, what will happen? Is your web container going to tell the browser to delete the cookie JSession ID? Answer is not required. So can you tell me, when you say session.invalidate, what do you think container will do internally? For this is the second client, this is Mira, second client who is logging out. So answer, guess smartly. Let's see what happens. Let's see. Yeah, HS2 is marked for garbage collection. Perfect. But guys, this is a map. From the map, can you just delete this value object? Or is key and value tied together? Key and value is tied together. So this entire, here I had marked the first one. So I'm talking about Mira. So this entire entry, second entry, K2, V2, this entire entry is deleted. Recall core Java. It is as if saying map.remove, outer map.remove K2. Okay, so the entire entry is deleted so that, see the point, so that even when, client Mira has said log me out, and then she has said visit again and come back to the login page. Same client browser, I have not yet exited from the client browser. So where is this JSession ID cookie kept? In the hard disk or in the browser's cache? Where is this cookie stored? In the cache. Are you getting this? So now, of course, the client means client browser will send, even in the login form, it will send the cookie. What cookie? Oh, I have copy paste problem. So here sorry, I'm not written on the XYZ, whatever, 3432, something, some XYZ. So now tell me, listen to the last statement before we start JSP assignment. So in this first request, after in the fresh login, the cookie is sent. Cookie could be sent. But will it really matter? Okay, let me say this properly. Will your web container, when you say again request.getSession, can it refer to this existing session object, or will it have to create a new one? I hope everyone is understanding. Of course, guys, I said that when you say session.invalidate, the entire this entry, including the key and the value, is deleted. So naturally, even when the container gets a cookie, it doesn't find any entry matching with this key. So container says, okay, something must have gone wrong. So it will end up creating a new session object. When I say new, what will be the story of that inner map, attribute map, empty or populated? For the new login, of course, empty. And the whole story, whole session lifecycle starts all over. So this was the description of that diagram. Understood something? 10%, 20% at least. This tells you completely the working of, internal working of, as I gave the name, HTTP session internals. Very good. If it is 90%, it is really good. So guys, if you want to increase it to 100%, from 10% to 100%, you please, you draw. Don't worry about my diagram. You just take this code. You can replace category page by your topics page, because that was our case study which I solved with you in the last week. And you can redraw the diagram step by step. And you can show me anytime. I can check it and, comment on that. Okay, so definitely worth visiting. Now looking at time, I'll just spend, I don't know, 10 minutes, maybe 10-15 minutes. 4 or 5 lines to understand the scopes. Yes, Mohammed, thanks for reminding. So, okay, I'll take this up, and then I'll go to the solving of today's assignment. Okay, so please open this. Open the this thing, understanding scopes. So you can continue in day 7.1. You must have already imported day 7.1. And I'll tell you, my favorite statement is whatever you don't understand conceptually in servlet, use JSP to understand it. So let's do that. So open day 7.1. Please open index page. And here, just add a link. Understanding attributes or understanding scopes or whatever. So make it as test5.jsp testing scopes. Or it is actually understanding scopes, whatever I mean. In JSP. I'll wait. Do a little bit of parallel programming. Now don't just sit back. Try things with me. It's just a comment. It's just a link. Done. So when client clicks on this, you have to write the next page as test5.jsp. Let's write it. So where do you write JSPs? Under the root, which is visible anywhere other than WebINF. So web app is typically chosen. And test5.jsp. Reach here so that I'll give you the instruction and you will give me the code. Tell me whenever you reach here. Done? Okay. So now I'm asking you a verbal question. Let's see how you respond. What are the 4 different scopes we are going to, I mean, you already know. In servlet, there were only 3 scopes. In JSP, there are 4. Tell me the 4. This absolutely correct. PRSA, page request session application. So now get me the JSP or write something in JSP which will add 4 attributes, 4 different attributes in 4 different scopes. Okay, so one I want in page scope, one in request, one in session, and one in application. So anyone wants to tell me how to do that? We are doing it together. Just tell me how. You understood the question? Okay, I got the answer as EL syntax. Right or wrong? Completely wrong. EL is for getters. EL is all for retrievals. So that is the wrong answer. So you will have to write the Java code, plain old Java code. And which method you will have to call? Set attribute. Okay. So Ashutosh, you have a problem slightly. So can you tell me if I want to add the attribute under the current page scope? Yeah, scriptlet. Of course, a scriptlet. So that goes without saying. When I say plain old Java code, what else but a scriptlet? So how will you add? I'll give a comment. Add an attribute under the current page scope. Give me the next line, Java line. Tomorrow, by this time, yes, finally, page context dot set attribute. Why people were saying page and page scope? I don't know. I've said this already. It is the API invoker object which represents the current page is page context. So start with that. I'm not interested in actual name and value. So you can say something like name 1 and value can be 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I forgot. Page context dot set attribute, this one. Okay. So what is the attribute name? NM1. And you remember attribute is always what? String comma object. This is not that session scope map. Parallel to session scope, like I discussed just now for such a long time, you have a page scope attribute map, request scope, session scope, and application scope. Okay, so this goes in that page scope. But I have a small question. I mean, of course, you will answer. This type is int, and what it requires is object. So why compiler is not cribbing? Why there is no compiler error? What is the first conversion it will do? Autoboxing, right? And then upcasting. Exactly. Okay, so now just do it 4 times. I mean, not the same thing. You know what I mean. The 4 different scopes. Add an attribute under the current request scope. I find this after doing this, typically I see the confusion confusion goes off in the beginners also. So please, copy pasting problems don't have. Request.set attribute, change it to, let's say, name to something. Values, I don't care. So add an attribute under the current request scope, under the current session scope, which is session. Invoker object keeps changing under the current application scope, or you can say web application scope. And the corresponding JSP object, implicit object, is application. If you take a cursor or application, it will tell you it is nothing but a servlet context. So in servlet, you would have said get servlet context dot set attribute. Here I have a shortcut. So name 3 and name 4 and something. I'll send you this. Let me just check. Page request session application and NM1, NM2, this thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, something. Yeah. So in case you don't want to write this, you can add. You can copy. Tell me whenever you are done. So you have added the 4 attributes. Now, first we are going to play with client pool, and then we are going to play in a server pool. So here, add a comment, redirect. You can add a link. Link is what? Client pool 1. So instead of wasting time, I'm just saying redirect the client to the next page in the next request. Okay. So you know all the stuff. So what is it? Response dot send redirect. And this was what? Test 5. So make it test 6. And I've not bothered really to write something. We have already tested it. Anytime you are redirecting your JSP writers buffer. Now we are in JSP. So JSP writers buffer will be all discarded. So no point in putting any response content. So just add a send redirect. Later we'll replace it by request dispatchers forward scenario. First, client pool. Done. Okay. So now, what is the next page I have to write? When I say this, what I mean is where the next request coming from the client browser will be sent to test6.jsp. Let's create that. Web app. Right click new. Test6. And now, here, tell me, I want to display all those attribute values. I want to send it in the response. So tell me, what should I use? I'll give you the options. You tell me possible. I mean, which one? Okay, hold on. Is it possible via a scriptlet? You just tell me Boolean answer, yes or not. Of course, yes. How will you do that? Write a scriptlet and write elaborate Java out.print whatever this thing. What is it? Page context.get attribute, etc. So 100% possible. Is it possible via JSP expression % equal to? Yes. So you don't have to say out.print. You simply say % equal to page context.get attribute. But which is the crisper, which is the ultimate shortcut? EL syntax. Okay. So now give a title here. Something. Displaying attributes or accessing attributes, whatever. Attributes via EL syntax. Okay. And now I'm giving you a minute. You give me 4-liner code, which will display the page scope attribute, request scope, session scope, and the application scope. Work it out. You understood? I want to display those values, send it to the client. So give it to me. All you are writing is 4 EL syntaxes. Put it on different things. So I'll start it for you. So I want something like this, page scoped attribute, and whatever EL syntax that you will type. When I say application, what I mean is the context, servlet context. Application is equal to context. So now tell me, what is the EL syntax you want me to use in line number 11? Yes, absolutely right. So only thing is, Yogesh, I'm going to be explicit. So start with the EL syntax, dollar curly braces, and now refer to the EL implicit objects, which are param, page scope, request scope, session scope, etc. So what is the name of the map which holds page scope attribute? Give me the name of the map. Is it page? Is it page context or is it page scope? Typical confusion. This name of the map which you can access from here is the page scope. So whether you write NM1, right? Have I given the names correctly? NM1, NM2, yeah, right. So whether you write only NM1 or whether you explicitly specify the name of the map, it's one and the same performance, same time, because the first search itself will be in the page scope. Okay, so be clear. When I say page is the JSP implicit object which you can access from scriptlet and expressions, and it represents the current translated page. Page context is very important, which is a holder of all the other implicit objects, plus allows you to set and get attribute. And page scope is the simplest of all. Name of the map containing page scope attributes. Now I think you should be able to manage it fast. Tell me, what will be here, guys? Now it is just a copy paste. What will be the second one? Page scope will be replaced by what? Request scope, obviously. So keep changing and say it to yourself 2 times, 3 times, 4 times till it sits with you. This is nothing, this is nothing complex. It is just a name of the map container created which holds the request scope attributes. It has nothing to do with the parameters. I have not sent the parameters at all. And then likewise you have session scope. If you make spelling mistakes, it will find the value null, and the null value is sent back as blank. So if you see blank, that means EL syntax has come across the null value. And the widest scope is application scope, and name of the map itself is application scope. So accessing attributes, page scope, request, session list, etc. And I'll send you this in case you need it. Okay. Now you're not supposed to run it. You're supposed to answer my question. So I'm just waiting till everyone finishes. Done? Oh, yeah. Right. Thanks. I did not read that, your message. I read it now. Yeah, my mistake. Copy pasting mistake, typical. NM1, NM2, NM3, NM4. Done so far? Now the question. You're not, don't cheat yourself. I mean, otherwise, you are not thinking, you are allowing somebody else think for you. So here is the question. When we click, which we will see it in a minute. When you say testing scopes, when you click on this, the request will be sent the new request generates to test 6. So whose URL? Here the question is, whose URL your client browser will see? Choices are test 5 or test 6. First question. All this is for a complete revision of servlets. Test 6 is a very right answer. Okay, because it's a client pool, multiple requests are coming from the same client. Okay, now start answering. So this title, of course, you'll see. I told you that anytime EL syntax gets a null value, will it throw you a null pointer exception? No. Will it print ugly looking null as a word? No. So what it will print instead? A blank. So tell me, when I run this, blank or not blank, or you can say null or not null, both are the same. Tell me, blank or not blank? 100% blank as well as, equal to null. Guys, this is your page scoped attribute. The moment you step outside in the separate page, will that continue to be visible, or will the scope be over? Of course, the scope is over. Isn't it equivalent to private? Private members are not accessible the moment you step outside the class. Isn't it? Same idea. Now, trade carefully. Tell me, blank or not blank? Second one. 100% blank. Guys, that tells me your understanding about the scopes. So here, are we talking about the same request, or are we talking about the new request? Same or new? New. So whatever request scope attribute we added on RQ1 first request, will it be visible to the second request? Of course not. Are you getting it? We say that whenever we are using client pool, the minimum scope of attributes which you require is the, yes, which is the minimum scope for client pool. Minimum scope required is a session scope, of course. Tell me, if I'm using the same client, I continue with the same client, of course, blank or not blank? Not blank. And what is the value we have given for this? 1236. Values don't matter, you know that. And then the last one, blank or non-blank? Visible or not visible? Of course, not blank. Why? Because you are working on the same web application. That easy it becomes to understand the complete clarity, to get the complete clarity in scopes. So I'm just running this. Wait a second. I was setting up some other demos for you guys in some other workspace. I'll stop that other server. Hey, you don't worry about what I did. Yeah. So I'm just taking this. Just deploy your web application and confirm whatever we are saying is correct or not. Everything is in confirmation. So here, first observation, the second request, inspect tool, this. So 2 requests are coming from the client, and as estimated, page scope is over. You are in test6.jsp. The earlier request was also over, but the session scope attribute works. So is the application is equal to context scope attribute. Understood? Making sense? The output? Understanding the scopes in web application programming. Okay. Now do something and convince me you're there. So I'm giving you very simple instructions. Copy this URL. Copy whatever, localhost 8080 test6.jsp, and launch another client. Don't say enter. You have to tell me. Page scope PRSA. Which one will be visible? Which will be blank? Which will not be blank? Another client accessing directly test6. What is your guess? You're not supposed to run it. You're just supposed to apply your mind to it. Understood what I'm saying? Only context scope attribute will survive. See this. Why page scope? It is a different page altogether. Why not request scope? It's a new request coming from it. But why not session scope attribute also? So I hope you'll realize how many those HTTP session objects are created in the container heap. 2 objects, HS1, HS2. You can print the J session IDs to confirm. They have different session IDs, and the one for the second user is containing empty attribute map. There is no attribute by the name, but since context scope attributes are shared across multiple clients, multiple requests coming to the same web application, this survives. Understood what I said? Understood the output basically. And I hope you are realizing testing and understanding each and everything becomes so easy in JSP. Got it so far? Clarity, full clarity? Okay. Now let's change the, let's replace client pull by server pull. I'm saying, let us change client pull to server pull. So which page should I modify? Test 5. Okay, test 5 or test 6? Easy question. Test 5, very right. So this is all preparation for your assignment also. So which line will I change? Give me the line number in my page. Everyone knows it. Line number 20, very right. So I'm just commenting this. And here, give me the server pull with a request dispatchers. The more often required is a forward scenario. So give me the forward technique. So, I hope you have practiced over the weekend. Step 1. What is the first step? Create the request dispatcher object. Other day, we were forwarding from servlet 1 to servlet 2. Today, we are forwarding from one JSP to another JSP. But the API is the same. So request dispatcher RD equal to request.get request dispatcher. And the path is the next page, which is test6.jsp. Is everyone clear? I'm just showing you which scopes and which navigation technique and how the whole thing works together. Is the first step clear? Create a request dispatcher, which is nothing but a wrapper, which is a holder of the next page. Earlier, it was a dynamic web page as in a servlet. Today is another dynamic web page in form of a JSP. And then, you have two methods. Which two methods you have? Forward or include. So I'm using forward. Same request, same response. So done the changes from send redirect to, from client pull to server pull. So I have a question. I have so many questions naturally. So here, tell me, after I click on the link, which link I'm talking about? Testing scopes. Which URL client browser will see? Your choices are test5.jsp or test6.jsp. I hope everyone knows it. Of course, test5, same request. We are navigating the client to the next page, but by stretching the same request. You are absolutely correct. So now the last question. Which one will survive? Okay, go one by one. Page scope attribute, blank or non-blank? First one, a blank. Because page scope is over, the current page is over. Will request scope attribute, okay, NM2, blank or not, visible or not visible? Visible, non-blank. Because you are stretching the same request to visit the multiple pages. Response is not yet rendered. Request is not yet over. So 100% you will get this NM2. And now let me ask you an analogy. Listen to the question. I'm not asking you next question. It will be too easy. Let me ask you, can you access, easy question, can you access public scoped members from the same class? It's a core Java question, obviously. Yes or no? If there is a public member, public data member, method member, of course, yes. So come back to here. Will you be able to access a session scoped attribute here? Will it be visible or, blank or non-blank? Of course, yes. It's a wider scope. So why not? And so will be your application scope also will be accessible. So other than the page scope attribute, the request, session, and application will continue to work. Confirm. So you can just go back, refresh, and observe that. So many things, small things. You can, of course, open the inspect option and you'll see exactly one request. And here is a POC, proof of concept, test 5. And as estimated, as discussed, current page scope is gone because, of course, you are stepping into a new page. Test 5 JSP separate, test 6 is separate, but the same request, same client, same application. Got a better clarity, better idea regarding the scopes? And like I said, just it was a 3-4 liner code to explain the whole concept to you. Are we clear? So that was it. Anything pending? I said I will take and I've forgotten. I hope not. So now finally, high time. Yeah. Let's discuss your today's assignment. Unless until you try something on your own, you're not going to feel confident. So let me make a statement. Okay, let me open that for you. Today's data. I've drawn a simple page flow. In day 7 help, open day 7 data, please. Day 7 help, and there is a JSP assignment there. It's a login to logout flow. And you're not going to use anything such as a database, DAO layer, Pojo you'll require here, but no database, nothing, no Java Beans, nothing. Java Beans anyway, I have not yet discussed. So this is only for giving you practice of what we did today. So let me explain the flow. Let me discuss how you are going to solve it, and then you can start working on it. So you are going to create a brand new project, fresh project, day 7 lab. Okay. Configure the web, open web.xml and keep only one welcome file, index.jsp, and here give me a link. All clear? When client clicks on the link, you show me the this thing, whatever, login form, where you are accepting username and a password. I've given the titles of the pages also, so stick to that as much as possible. When the form is submitted, now you are going to perform the validation. But are you going to perform the validation using database, tables, and the DAO layer? Absolutely not. Tomorrow, whole day we are going to spend in that JSP2 database layers. So here is the answer. We are going to do it. Have I not written anything? Have I written any hash map? Yeah, here. I was thinking whether I've written or not. Everyone knows hash map very well from core Java. So here, instead of saying if the username is admin and password is admin123, allow him, no such hard coding. I mean, you will create a map. Okay, so everyone knows hash map. What will be the data type? I mean, the generic type of the hash map, string, comma, user Pojo. So guys, look at it slowly. No database, no DAO layer, but plain old Java object Pojo is just an ordinary core class. So here all instructions I've given in writing so that you don't suffer. In that day 7 lab project, create a Pojo's package and you give me a user Pojo. This has nothing to do with the database table. Don't get confused. So just give me 3 properties: name, password, and the user's age. Can everyone visualize Pojo's package and a user Pojo with 3 properties? No args constructor, all args constructor, getter, setter, toString. Got it? Okay. Now, so naturally, since I don't have a database table, you will have to create, you means your JSP, will have to create a hash map and populate it with, give me at least 2-3 users. 2 users is sufficient. Give me 2 users, 2 user details. So my question is, in how you are going to create or where you are going to create this hash map? Where means I know validate.jsp, and where you are going to populate it. Your choices are scriptlet, JSP expression, EL syntax, JSP declaration, none of above, any of above, whatever. I'll repeat the statement slowly. You have to create and populate the hash map somewhere in that JSP. So I got the answer, scriptlet. Anyone has a different opinion? Now don't blindly take any options. Okay, let me help you. It's a wrong answer. If you do it in a scriptlet, how many times the code in the scriptlet gets called? Exactly once or once per every request? Tell me. One per request. So do you seriously want to create a map every time and populate it with some hard-coded users? Or do you want to do it exactly once? So you got your mistake. So now tell me, where will you do it from? I hope you are understanding the code. I'm talking in code. Hash map HM, string, comma, this thing, whatever user, new hash map, exactly, declaration block. But guys, if your answer is perfectly all right. But in declaration block, if I write as a method, something like my init, if I call it as my init, will that my init method get called automatically or not by the container? No. So which is the method you will override to populate? No. Suprabha, you're off track. Init method. We are in JSP. So which method? JSP init. Guys, I have written it in such a manner, it will force you to revise everything. So I'll say this again. Watch in the sense, get me. You will be writing a valid, this is just a form, so nothing great. So you will add the declaration block, typically outside the body. Declare a data member hash map with string, comma, whatever user Pojo, and override the JSP init method. You have all the reference code we have written together. And in that JSP init, create an empty map. How? Calling hash map constructor. And how will you add the entries? Which method of the hash map you'll use for adding the entries? Put method, of course. You got it? So this is what we used to write. You remember long back collection utils. So right now, don't separate and all that. Write it here. Can everyone visualize JSP init creation and population of a hash map? 3 lines. Hash map instance, hm.put. Can you? Not just 1 out of 200, more answers. Okay. Now, this will happen right in the init phase, as in, initialization sequence. But now, after the form is submitted, a request will be sent from the client. And what gets called per every request? Scriptlet, expression, declaration, any of above, all of above, none of above. Scriptlets and expression. So I have already given you the answer. Where are you going to write that validation logic? You are going to write it in a scriptlet. In JSP expression, all you can display is an expression. Can you write really a business logic in an expression? Absolutely not. So visualize a scriptlet. And what kind of validation logic you'll write? We used to write it long back in core Java. So username is the key. So you will first use, hm.get, basically get the user, match the password. If the username and a password both matches, what does it mean? Valid login or invalid login? Of course, valid login. Otherwise, in the invalid branch, if else, give me a retry link. Now adding a link, you don't have to pass it through that out.write and all. This is your HTML markup. So simply write it and get the client back to the login form. Is invalid branch clear? Adding the retry link. We've done it so many times in a servlet. You can visualize. Okay. Now I'm giving you more. Asking you more. In case of successful login, since we are sitting in a JSP, do you have to say request.getSession, or is HTTP session object automatically created, implicitly created for a JSP? Of course, it is implicitly created. Why? I hope you have revised. Page directive has a session attribute. What is the default value of that session attribute? True or false? True. And false is the wrong answer. True is the correct answer. And that is what has told the container to create the empty session object. When I say empty, what I mean is that attribute map is empty. So now read this. Store the user details. I said username, password. I don't want it. I want age also. User has an age. Okay. So store all these user details. Make a correction here. Name, password, and age, that user Pojo instance, into the correct scope. So If I say redirect client, what is it you are going to use? Client, I mean, what is it? CP or SP? Client pull or server pull? The moment I say redirect, it's a client pull. So which will be the minimum scope you will require to add these attributes? Page, request, session, or application? Of course, session. So we'll have to write. That is what good that we covered that. So session dot set attribute, something like client details, comma user, that way. And after redirection, in the next request, you will be redirecting the client. The brand new request will come from the client browser and display the validated user details. I want a message, successful login, and these are your details, but using EL syntax. So which map you will use? Which EL implicit object you will use here? Give me the name of the EL implicit object. Dollar, in that dollar, session scope. Everyone is clear? You just have like four things. And then I'm not saying more. I mean, the topics, I mean, the case study we'll have tomorrow. So then give me a log me out link, I mean, log out link. Now here, the control, this is your CP1, client pull one, clicking on a link, right? So here, I don't want to see the whole details. I want hello, which is a static message, and followed by only username. So can anyone write the EL syntax to just get me the username? I am waiting for your answer. I'll repeat again. I want this. This is dynamic. So solve it with a EL syntax. Waiting for you. Dollar curly braces. Wrong. Kunal, I think you're still confused. Hello, you're saying param. Param is request parameter. This is multiple requests. So this will be all wrong. Nobody has given me a correct answer so far. Okay, Prashant is the closest, but he's still not there. Okay, so here is the answer. Listen to this. I'm not giving you a direct answer. I'm getting it from you. So dollar in the curly braces, which is the map name under which session scoped attributes are stored. Give me the name of the map first. Is it param? Is it request scope or is it a session scope? SS, you can say SS for session scope. It's a session scope. So dollar session scope. Now, after that directly you'll say name. Of course not. Here you would be giving the attribute name. So whatever is the attribute name, for example, user underscore details. But if you write only this much, it will give you the whole user pojo. So what is the trick? Somebody was saying dot get name. You forgot. Dot itself is going to call the getter. So what it will be? Dollar, curly braces, session scope, dot user details, dot name. That's it. No getters to be called explicitly. And what will it internally call? Session scope dot get. In goes the key in that inner map. Out comes the attribute value, which is user pojo, dot get name. You can just write it somewhere because I could not take this. I mean, did not have time. Time got over. Did you understand what I said? How will you get only the username? Session scope. Don't make spelling mistakes. Dot whatever the attribute name here you use. Say for example, client details, user info something. Dot name. So when you say dot name, web container will call which classes which method? It will call some Java method internally. Which classes which method? Get name from the user pojo. Very right. And you'll see all this information will be really useful when I take you tomorrow to the second level in JSP, which is advanced hub, JSP actions and all that. So, okay, so that was your first line. Everyone knows. If I want to invalidate the session, which of the following can be used? Scriptlets, declaration, EL syntax, JSP expression, all of above, none of above. What will you, how will you discard the session? We did this earlier. What will you use? Declaration block, wrong answer. In declaration block, you cannot access the session at all. The session comes into the picture when the user comes in. Guys, answer that. Of course, you have to write. I hope everyone knows the API. You have to write session.invalidate. But from expression tag, EL syntax, what is it called? Scriptlet or something else. 100% a scriptlet. Scriptlet, whatever you write in the scriptlet is copy pasted as it is in your JSP service. And what are the two arguments of JSP service? Servlet request, servlet response, HTTP. So everything will fall in place. And then you just give a message, you have logged out successfully, and give me a link, visit again, where the whole flow will start again from this. So I'll stay quiet. Spend a minute or 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever minutes, and tell me, do you think you can manage it? Do you have a little bit of confidence that yes, you can try it at least? If majority cannot finish it, 100% I'll take it tomorrow morning. But it is always best if it comes from you. You'll try. That's a right approach. So this is one. If you go systematically, it will finish in good time. It will complete in a good time. Age, Mohammed, you did not understand me. Guys, anyone wants to answer? Where is the age going to be stored? I already made a mention of it. Where the age will be this in user Pojo. So this one, Mohammed, when you add these user details, you will be adding, I'll talk in code, hm.put, some username, let's say Rama, comma, new user, and it will have her name, password, and the age. Okay, so of course it is stored in the map. Okay, so I'm not taking it from the database table. The database table, I'm replacing it by a collection, which is a map. Understood me, guys? Okay, now, so after finishing this, read this. After completing this assignment, create a copy of the project. So day 7 lab, copy it into day 7 lab 2. If you want, this is all optional. The first one is not optional. Give it a try. It's a compulsory assignment. And now what I'm saying is create another copy and replace redirect by the server pull. So when I say replace client pull by a server pull, can you tell me which page you will change? I'll give you the choices. Index.jsp, login, validate, details, logout. Which one will be modified? Validate page. Absolutely correct. In the successful login branch, valid login branch or invalid login branch, you will change. Of course, the valid login branch. Earlier, you would be writing response.send redirect. That will be replaced by which code? Request dispatcher.forward, rd.forward. Got me? So now tell me, what is the minimum scope? Okay, so you are forwarding the client to the details page in the same request or in the next request? In the same request. So which is the minimum scope? So this to this is server pull now. Which is the minimum scope you'll have to store it in? Request. You got me? So you will definitely get it from the dollar. I'm talking about EL syntax. Earlier you are using the name of the map, dollar session scope. What can you use now? What will you use now? Which will be the name of the map you'll use? Request scope. The second part which I'm saying is all optional. First part is compulsory. But so okay. So now see this. This response is rendered. So when you click on log me out, will you be able to see here the username or will it be blank? Or it is all about scopes, navigation, and attributes and all. What it will be? 100% blank. So what is a little trick? What is a little jugglery you'll have to do? In details.jsp, take it from the request scope using a scriptlet and put it in the session scope. Or if you don't want to trouble yourself so much, you can continue with the session scope. But be clear, session scope is not required from this to this server pull. It is required from details to log out CP1. So you can do it the way you want. At least give it a try. And wherever you are having problems, we can solve. You can tell me solve client pull or I'm saying solve server pull. Because if I start solving everything, then we waste too much of theory session. I mean theory time. So this is an optional one. First give it a try with redirect and then replace, make another copy and give me the request dispatcher forward. Are the instructions, is the discussion clear? Somewhat clear. Okay, so try working on it and I'll be logging off shortly in another 5 minutes, but you have other lab faculties. Give it a try. Create a separate project and start working on it. So in addition to that, if you have any questions, do ask. Related to assignment, otherwise, anything. Anyone wants to share screen, anyone is stuck in any servlet based projects, anything and everything, starting from day one of core Java till today, whatever you have, ask. I'm here for the next 5 minutes. So if you have a question, do drop it. Do ask anytime. This is what is the discussion about.
हॅलो मॅम.
या tell me.
मॅम एक क्वेश्चन होता मला,
हा बोल ना.
शेअर करू का?
हो of course.
मॅम हे इंटर
No
थ्रेड
ITC.
कम्युनिकेशन
हा हा.
नव्हतं केलेलं,
हम्म,
तर त्याच्यामध्ये जर स्लीप दोघांचे सेम दिले तर बरोबर आपल्याला म्हणजे
नाही,
स्टेल पण नाही
नाही.
होत आणि हे पण नाही, मग
नाही,
ते
नाही,
आपण
नाही.
का नाही करत?
त्याचं कारण असं आहे की कॅन यू हे बघ, जेव्हा तुम्हाला कोड देतात तेव्हा डिलेज टाकून देतात. डिलेज ऑलरेडी सांगतील की हे डिलेज आहेत, बिकॉज यू कॅनॉट गॅरंटी की रीडिंग आणि रायटिंगला तुला सेम वेळ लागणार आहे. नोबडी ऑन द अर्थ कॅन गॅरंटी
हम्म.
दॅट. सो ही रिअलिस्टिक कंडिशन प्रॅक्टिकल डिले साठी, प्रॅक्टिकल कंडिशन साठी वी चेंज इट. आणि मी परत एकदा म्हणजे मी आणखी एकदा सांगते, तू जर इनफ डेटा म्हणजे मिलियन्स ऑफ सॅम्पल्स कलेक्ट केलेस तर तुला नक्की सापडेल एखाद दुसरं सॅम्पल विच इज आयदर स्टेल डेटा किंवा डेटा ओव्हरराईड. कारण सी इव्हन वेन यू से सिंक्रोनाइज, कॉन्टेक्स्ट स्विचिंग तर होतच आहे. सो विदाउट वेट नोटिफिकेशन देर इज नो गॅरंटी दॅट यू विल गेट अ इन सिक्वेन्स किंवा सिक्वेन्शियल आउटपुट. सिक्वेन्शियल म्हणजे कसं, प्रोड्युसर प्रोड्युसर्स अँड देन कन्झ्युमर ग्रॅब्स इट.
कंझ्युमर, येस.
So okay, let me explain. जेव्हा तुम्ही code interviews किंवा technical interviews, whenever you are attending, people give you a code and they tell you explicitly कि these are the delays, these are the system delays, and this is the problem. And they tell you explicitly that you are not supposed to, you are not allowed to touch any delays and make the code work. Okay, so hey, this is the style of interviews. आणि दुसरं स्टेटमेंट असं आहे, कुणाल,
Yes,
do
ma'am.
you want to write a code or multi-threaded application which just works with certain delays or which works on any inputs, any delays?
Any delays.
Any delays. So that is why don't rely on delays. It is just a coincidence that you got it. पण तरी मी 100% सांगते तुला, जर तू इनफ सॅम्पल्स कलेक्ट केली, मिलियन इज टू मच, 100 सॅम्पल्स मध्ये सुद्धा मी पाहिलंय एखादं आउट ऑफ सिंक जातं. म्हणजे वेन आय से आउट ऑफ सिंक, व्हॉट आय मीन इज रीडर,
प्रोड्यूस
हा
करतोय आणि
राईट,
रीडर.
स्केल डेटा किंवा ओव्हरराईड, इफ यू वॉच केअरफुली. ठीक आहे.
येस मॅम.
So don't rely on the sleep. Instead, rely on inter-thread communication using that flag, semaphore, आणि wait notification. ठीक आहे.
येस मॅम. थँक्यू मॅम.
Yeah, sure. Anytime. Okay, guys. So that will be all from my side. Anyone has any specific question before I log off? Okay, so I hope you are trying. Give it your maximum try. And as I said, that first part, the client pool is compulsory. And why am I saying compulsory? Because tomorrow, based on that, we will develop further. And do try the server pool part also. That will be all. See you tomorrow. Do I have to share anything? I don't think we wrote. Okay, I'll share that day 7.1 again in lab, day 7 lab data. Other than that, I don't think I made any changes. Okay, so that will be all. See you tomorrow.